What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting their possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions. And a very grand welcome to all the fellow decoders out there around the world. Wherever you are, my name is Logan, and this is Decode Your Reality. And today we're going to be breaking down and decoding the game of life, which is what we're all playing, forced to play the game of life. And folks, this one was so much fun to put together, and as you noticed, I put a little intro, a little presentation to give you kind of a little taste of what to expect, because we are all the stars here in the game of life. It just depends on what level you're at. But folks, put on some headphones, man. This one is like the cherry on top of all my presentations. This one is completely going to blow your freaking doors off. I'm going to support my opinion so many different ways, like I always do, using the cards and numerology. But folks, this one, this is it. This is like the creme de la creme right here, and I'm very excited to show all of this to each and every one of you. So in the zero position, we already went through that, the little sneak peek in the beginning, the intro. Number one, of course, the song that I had playing, Feed the Wolf. A great tune that is, and it is the game of life. The wolf is the game of life, folks, and it's called the Game of Gold in position number 2. Number 3, 42's Lead Prison. Number 4, 17 and Life. Number 5, The Harvest. number 688. And of course, I always love to hear what all of you have observed during this presentation. In the 7th position, what did you see? So folks, here we go. Here we go. This one is going to be exciting. The first topic is, of course, Feed the Wolf, entering that song in the very beginning, and this is what it's all about. See, the reality that we live in is an apex predator. As a matter of fact, when you go through the numerology of that word, let me find it here. There it is, apex predator. You're going to notice that the word apex is a 19, which is, the same as this word right there. And we know that it's the sun card in the tarot. The sun is an apex predator. And of course, what other word connects to that number right there? Starts with the letter C. And, it's definitely that right there. So that's what's going on the world stage, and that's why it's tied to that word, and it's tied to that word right there. So now you know. It's not really a secret, but feed the wolf quick before you change your mind. And, the old proverb is you're going to either feed the black one or the white one, and we have both of them inside of us, the ego and the spirit, if you will. And there it is, folks, right at the top. Feed the wolf is a number 60. The word wolf alone is 24. 24 is the X chromosomes. The letter X is the 24th letter in the English alphabet, and that is us. Feed us. And it's just all fractals, dimensional, as above, so below, and it just keeps going and going and going. But there it is, right in the dead center. It's tied to the element neodymium. And of course, neodymium is used for magnets. Magnetic. The wolf is magnetic. This world that we live in is built on 3 main principles: dielectricity, magnetism, and electricity. And then you get into the Taurus fields and the great Santos Bonacci, Ken Wheeler. I could go on and on with these great minds that are coming out with this information. But you'll notice that neodymium, the most abundant weight that it has, is 141. And, I want to ask each and every one of you, what is pi? The perfect circle. The measurement of a circle, it's 3.141. So the wolf is now tied to pi, which is what we all create through our emotional responses and the sine and cosine waves, which make up the perfect circle, which is what we live on. No matter which shape you think it is, flat, round, concave, it's a sphere, some way, shape, or form, and it's tied to the wolf. And of course, neodymium, the average weight is 144, and that's where you can get into some theology and the chosen ones. But there's the starting point of this Feed the Wolf. And when you bring in the string of pi, because neodymium's most abundant weight is 141, so it's tied directly to pi itself. When you place that number 60 in the string of pi, it lands at the 127th decimal digit. Folks, that is the 31st prime number. And what's pi? 3.1. So there it is, folks. You see the strong tie-in? I mean, massive. This is where mathematical precision comes into play, and it should show and support that man is not coding this reality. Man is simply following the script, the blueprint. You may become conscious of it. Many people do. Like maybe yourself. Maybe you've become conscious of this code, but you're still just going to follow the blueprint that was already scripted before you ever popped out of your mother's womb. And that is the same for each and every living creature on this planet. They're all just following their code and their blueprint. This is just proof of that right here. This is just one example. We could use the English. I could use other ciphers and show you how they're all tied together. But nonetheless, folks, if you go here to the right-hand side and you add up the 127 and 128, which is what the number 60 occupies, it's not just the 127, but it's the 128. It's the number 255. And when you take that number 2, this is another way to do some advanced decoding. I'm just going to show one clear example. When you take the 255 and you add it to that 141, get out your calculators, you're going to come up with a number that is exactly almost the same as that is going to be 396, but nonetheless, through the expressions of the numbers and how this code works, it's still the same exact expression of the numbers showing themselves. It's that 369, 396, 963, 936, whatever. And it's all about what Tesla talks about and the key to the universe. And it's the I am. You see, when you take these two elements, the iodine and the americium, the I am that I am, and you add these up, you're going to get 369.965. And that 369 is tied when you add up the 255 and the 141. And that's how mathematically precise this code is. And man didn't write this code, I can assure you that, because it's the I am. And we are, and the I am's the wolf, the I am is the game of life, and you are the I am. That's why when you say I am this, I am that, that's you being the architect creating your reality that was already built before you ever got here. We may have a little bit of free will, but that's for another story. So as you can see, Feed the Wolf is the 60 in this example. And it's just, you know, mankind being a puppet on strings. And at the bottom, mankind is being used. I've said this so many times. And I actually didn't even know how to connect the mankind is being used, the 60. It didn't click for me until I started to decode this entire Game of Life Decoded. It was where I connected the dots. And it was a big aha moment for me. And there it is. Feeding the wolf is because, you see, everything that we do, we feed the wolf because we're being used for our energetic currency. We are currency inside the battery. We're all little cells. And we play tribute to the master, which is the battery, which goes by many titles and names, but there it is, the 60 tied to neodymium. And remember, this is magnetic. It's used to make magnets, tied to the nature's trinity, the physics trinity of dielectricity, magnetism, and electricity. Of course, there are so many other ways to look at this. But this was a really big one. I put this one out on social media, and, you know, to extend on mankind is being used, at the very top, mankind is being used for food. And that's exactly what the Greeks said, which is why I have it right here in the bottom right. This is the word ambrosia in the original spelling through the Greek, and we're going to get into this because it's a very, very important piece to this decode, the number 82 and the element lead. But I want you to follow along here. You see this 103, which, you know, remember pi is 3.1. I mean, there it is, and this is also the 13 with the 0 stuck in between there, and that 13 is so powerful. 13 is Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, through the Zodiac. 13 in the bloodlines. They skip 13th floor in many hotels. It's one of the most powerful numbers there are on the face of the earth because it means magic through creation. And the 103, when you say that, folks, it becomes the number 59, which is a direct match to the title of this decode, the Game of Life. So you can see, folks, and again, you notice I'm not really moving away from the Chaldean. I don't have to, because the Chaldean goes off of phonetics, and to me, in my truths and opinions, it's the closest to the source you're going to get. Not to say the other ciphers don't have merit or you cannot use them, but if you're a newbie in decoding, you should be using Chaldean as your priority cipher to find your truths, build your foundation. But there it is right there. It's right there in our face, and it's nothing that can be denied at this point. And when you bring in the total 26 letters of the alphabet, A through Z, look at what it equals, folks. It's the frickin' 103. So this is telling us loud and clear, everything we write, everything we say, everything we type, we are actually feeding the wolf, feeding the game of life. So everything that's happening on the world stage primarily uses the alphabet when we speak our spells, and spells are vibrational frequencies, and it's all tied to the game of life. And it really comes down to this number 82 and lead. And just remember, folks, when you get into true alchemy, it's lead into gold. So the food for the gods is us. We are the food as an energetic source. And really, it looks like this, because when you really bring in the string of pi to give more truth to this narrative, to really make it stand out, and to push chance and coincidence out the window, you can clearly see that this element lead, which, mind you, it's 207 and the word currency is 27. But the string of pi tells the very fitting story, because the number 82, it occupies the 52 and 53, which is 105, which is the great architect of the universe, is what the Masons call it. But the 52 is tied to these two words right here called prison planet. 52. So the 82 and 52. Think about this using your logic and common sense. Ambrosia, which the Greeks coined as food for the gods, is 82. That would be us. We're the lead, turning lead into gold, and then when we become gold, we are being transmuted, and it's all based on this. And remember, 26 is the Yod-Heh Vah-Heh, and the element iron is the 26th element. And what does our blood have in it? Yeah, it has iron in it, folks. So that's how valuable these elements on the periodic table are when decoding reality. Here's another extended look on Prison Planet, which I have a decode coming out with that topic. It just seems like I'm never coming out with it, but it's a build-up. But nonetheless, 52 is that number in the very top dead center, Prison Planet. But here are the two elements that occupy the 52. It's on the left, it's tellurium. And tellurium, the name is derived from the Latin word tellus, which means earth. Do you see the sync right here, folks? That's absolutely undeniable when you look at these synchronicities. And now we're talking about syncretism. That's what this whole thing is. Synchronizing, syncretism, taking all these elements and bringing them all together and providing the narrative of how this reality works. And then on to the right here is the 24th element called chromium. And chromium has an atomic weight of 52. It has several, these elements have several atomic weights, but chromium has the 52. And 24 is 24 hours in a day. 24 hours of the military time. 24 is the X in the X chromosomes. We are the X-Men. And this name is derived from the Greek word chroma, meaning color. And, you could say we're humans, hue, H-U-E, as in color. And we are the light beings slowed down into physical matter, where we become lead on the world stage. And is this the very reason why the Royal Society of Chemistry, this is what the Royal Society of Chemistry chose for their photos? You can go to their website right here, Royal Society of Chemistry, and you can look up, here's chromium right there, and there it is, and this is what they chose. And they'll tell you a story, and maybe they don't even know the tie-ins, but they'll tell you what the picture means. This image reflects the toxic nature of the metal and its mirror shine when polished. Yeah, humanity's toxic. There's some truth there, but look at it, it's the skull with the wings on it, and that's us, folks. That's what we end up turning into. So these things have so much truth. These pictures, these icons, and these elements are bridges, and they tell us the true narrative on how our reality works when you tie them to numerology. And primarily Chaldean is the big standout. It's the top dog cipher as far as I'm concerned. So let's get into the second topic called the game of gold, because that's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's the game of gold, the game of life without the letter, without the game of life is 79. And remember, game is 26, prison and planet, both are 26. It's a game, playing out a game. We're entertainment, living out a soap opera. We have iron in our bloods. It's a game. And life, just when you break this stuff down, life is 32. And that is so much significance, because if you take 32 and 33 linked to the ascension process, well, if you take water, which is what we're primarily made up of, and water freezes when it hits 32 degrees, it changes structure when it hits 32. So the story of the 32 and 33 in the numerical patterns is that we transmute from 32 to 33. It's all about ascension or descension down into this reality called Wonderland. And there it is. It's the gold. The game of life is all about gold currency, and I'm going to be showing that quite a bit throughout this presentation. And here is one example of that, folks. You see, when we incarnate, that's the 27. It's different than reincarnation. That's 42. I'm going to be showing that. But when we incarnate, it's 27. We instantly become currency, which is why the dollar bill is the shape of the sine wave. The red and green waves are the sine and cosine waves, which is what we make up of through our energetic expressions. And we are all currency. So the so below for us, currency would be money, and it's moving into cryptocurrency. But it's currency. That's our currency. But then, the as above of that, we are the currency. Our emotions provide the currency to feed the battery to keep this game going. And here, let me break this down. This is really, really important right here. I want you to really pay attention as I narrate this. At the very top, it's all about not just currency and when we incarnate, but it's gold currency. That's why the Vatican has just two colors on its flag, gold and white. Gold representing the gold currency. That's why they have your social security numbers in check and all that stuff by Santos Bonacci. That's the very reason why I started following Santos, because of his great research of his videos that he came out with when he first started doing the esoteric. Some of my favorite stuff by him. But it was the gold currency that we're all being used for. Forget about the Vatican and the social security numbers and all that. It doesn't matter, because your energetic currency. Your energetic currency is what they're after. And it's the architect that's after it. Mankind is just being used to fulfill the script. But there it is. It's the 44. And when you bring into the string of pi, the 44, look at what it occupies. Digits 59 and 60. And there it is, folks. The game of life is all about gold currency. This is what the true narrative is. Right here, staring us in the face. So 44 occupies 59 and 60, and there's the 60. See how tightly woven this is? And I'm just using the Chaldean. I'm not even deviating away from that. When we come up here, the word life, as in the game of life, is 17. It's a direct match to the word matrix, which is a direct match to the word gold. They're all 17s. How many colors in a rainbow? 7, 1 through 7. The light spectrum, light being slowed down into physical matter, becoming lead, led to gold. That's what this whole reality is based on. Gold currency, folks. And this movie came out, and it was a gem because it really told the narrative of how our reality works. And I'm going to do my best to show you. I had decoded the Matrix, but I had looked at it again during this decode, and I'm going to show you some things that were not in the Matrix decoded. And here they are. You see, Agent Smith, of course, was the defender of being asleep, not the Matrix itself. Even though the movie portrayed that, Agent Smith was the protector of keeping you asleep, keeping you busy. Busy enough where you won't pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes. And it was played out by Hugo Wallace Weaving. That was the real actor's name that played Agent Smith. And I've highlighted in green his birthday, which was April 4th. And the subtleties, folks, he was born in 1960. You remember what 60 was? Feed the wolf, 60. And 19 is battery, or the sun. And 44 is his birthday. The 4th of April, 44, which is this right here, folks. This is why you can't make this up. And, was the Wachowski sisters, now sisters, it was the brothers, but what is it? The Wachowskis that were sitting down with Chaldean numerology exclusively while they were writing the script to this movie, did they have this kind of esoteric knowledge of numerology? Were they numerologists? And folks, do you realize what would have to go into? It's not just getting this right, but then we have to cast a guy who's going to play Agent Smith to defend keeping people asleep, and he has to have that birthday. This is where it gets so deep, and to me, you say bye-bye to people actually being conscious and getting to this level, because this is really deep stuff. I mean, I have Jupiter Ascending. I'm going to decode that movie, and I'm going to show, folks, there's so many moving parts, and everybody would have to be in on the conspiracy. That's why there's no way. So let's just keep going, you see, because this is the guy who comes into the movie, and he's the defender of waking you up. So you have Smith, who's there to keep you asleep, and you have Neo coming in to wake you up, who was played by Keanu Charles Reeves. And there's a reason why he was called Neo. If you haven't seen my decode on John Wick, I did his Alchemology, and his number comes out to neodymium, which is the 60th element, which is feed the wolf. And really it doesn't, to be honest with you folks, and I've said this, red pill, blue pill, don't even take any of them, because you're going to stay stuck. So they give you a choice, so no matter what, you're going to stay stuck in the matrix in the game no matter what, which we may not have a choice. We may not have a choice anyway. But Keanu Reeves was the guy to come in to wake you up. Wake up, Neo. And when you really break down these two guys, and their true birthdays now, not even, this is not even scratching the surface, but folks, you see, Mr. Smith, born on April 4th, this is his card, the 4 Spades, which if you look at this card right here, it's the 4 swords. And I want to just digress and show you, do I even have it? I don't even have it. Let me just show you guys, because this one is really, really important. Let me just show you this, folks. This is the 4 of Swords right here. And this is so important. I got to show this to you. Here it is. This is the 4 of Swords card right there. What does that look like to you? That's a person asleep. Asleep. So you see, Agent Smith has that for his birth card, folks. You see, that's what they'd have to get this right as well. Casting the movie, picking out the guy. It's got to match gold currency to match his birthday. Do you see what would have to go into this, folks? People would never get anything done. They would never get anything done. That's why man is being used. So his job is designed to keep you asleep. And look at his birth card tied to the tarot card, which is the 4 swords, which is all about keeping you asleep. This is why I know man's not coding this. It'd be ridiculous and absolutely ludicrous to think that. And then we have Mr. Neo, who was there to wake you up. Wake up. Snap out of it. And his card, September 2nd, is the 9 diamonds card. And when you bring these two cards together, folks, the 4 and the 9, we get 49. And of course, it can be 94, which is going to be tied to plutonium and Shiva, which is all about the rebirth of the matrix. But there it is, down in a hole. I did a decode on this. Down in a hole is 49. Magic. And that's what we're playing out, folks. These two dudes, the one to keep you asleep. These are the 2 states that we are in, folks. Really, I want you to think about what I'm telling you here. You see, we have to sleep. You can stay awake, but eventually you're going to lose it. And then you're going to end up falling asleep some way, shape, or form. These are the 2 states that we're in. And no matter what, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter if you think you're awake. You can be awake all you want. Like, this stuff wakes you up. So you realize, but what you're waking up to is you're in both of these states. And there's no choice in the matter. Because you got to get out there and hustle and be part of the matrix. So these 2 guys represent being asleep and being awake. And they represent the fish. Here it is. Here's another layer. The medicine cards, using 52 cards, matching the 52 weeks. Using animals, insects, and reptiles to do their bidding. But there it is, the salmon card, 49, which just clearly tells you that you're a fish. And that's exactly what happens when you go down in this hole, down into Wonderland, and you get into the matrix. You get into life, and you become a fish. And there it is. And this is the humor of the architect. Whatever created this reality, call it whatever you want, whatever title you want to give it. But It's a stand-up comedian, which is why I have God is a Comedian parts 1, 2, and 3. There'll be a part 4, I'm sure. Because the damn architect likes to make things funny. It's a big joke. And I think life deserves to be a big joke and be laughed at some more, instead of taking it so freaking serious. But there it is. This is the joke. I mean, come on. Fish is 17. Matrix is 17. Life is 17. We're all fish down here in the hole. And this is, I mean, clearly, folks, come on. Not only just casting these guys, I could go on and on. Go watch my Matrix Decoded. I have so much more information. Bells should be going off in your head to show you how mathematically precise this code is. And I can tell you, the Wachowskis were not sitting down casting these people to play based on their cards, based on this deck that came out in 1988 of all years. They're not sitting down with numerology like this. I just know they're not. They don't have to, because they're being used to tell you the narrative through the movies. And it's all about the gold currency, folks. And here's just another layer that I want to show you to finalize this example of the game of life and feed the wolf. You see, Mr. Smith, born on April 4th, otherwise known as 44, and then Neo, you can do it, September, it could be 92, but the way they write it on Wikipedia, it's 2 September and 4 April. So 44 and 29. 44 and 29, get out your calculators. You're going to get the number 73. 73 is not just any number, it's the freaking 21st prime number. And 21, folks, here's the bridge telling you exactly how mathematically precise and beautiful this code is that man could never code, ever. It's the element scandium, which contains the 44, and it contains the 21. And there it is, folks, you see? And, to bridge it even further, here's the 21st card in the tarot, which is the world card. And we go down in the hole, down into Wonderland. And we're ruled over by the 4 signs of the Zodiac. These are the 4 fixed signs. The ox, lion, eagle, man. You get the 4 fixed signs, the 4 cardinal signs, the 4 mutable signs. They all change. And we're all stuck in the middle, down in the hole, going through the Vesica Pisces. Here's the 21st card in the Cards of Illumination. It's the 8 clubs. Here are the 4 fixed signs on all corners, and then the diamond in the very dead center. These are dead giveaways when you know what you're looking for. This is one of the 3 fixed cards in the deck and the charts, which I'm not going to get into today. That's more advanced. But it's one of 3 fixed cards, the other 2 being the King Spades and the Jack Hearts. But folks, this is clear, absolutely clear that mankind could never code this game. So you just got to find your code to know what you're looking for and figure out your power, just like Neo did. Find your power. Find your true self. Why are you here? What's your position on the board, on the motherboard? Earth is the motherboard. We create computers that have a motherboard. As above, so below. So the game of life is gold. And the game itself is 13. And there it is, folks. Another dead giveaway. You see the layers that are involved with this? And clearly you can see when you tie them all together and synchronize them, it becomes gold. Once again, 79 appears at the 13th. 13 and 14, which is going to be 27, which is currency. But, folks, I could just go on and on and on using just the Chaldean, just pi, and just the elements and completely narrate how this reality works. The game of life. So let's get into the third topic now, called 40. If you're not having fun yet, folks, I'm going to kick you. 42's lead prison. This is the starting point, the 42. And it's really, when I broke this is where I started breaking this decode down. I had shelved this decode. This has been on the shelf for months. And, something inside of me said, pull it out. So here we are. But, this game, have you ever played this game? The game of life, it's a board game. Well, here on the right-hand side, here's the originator of the game. His name was Milton Bradley. If you're a fan of board games, you know the name Milton Bradley. He It was a staple name in the board games as I was growing up. But it was originally called the Checkered Game of Life. So we're going to start there. And there it is, folks. The Checkered Game of Life is 174. And the 174, of course, is tied to the sun, which is the architect, which is the boss, which is what we feed, which is a battery. The 174, the left side of your dial pad or calculator, representing the sun. When you bring that into the string of pi, look at where it appears, the 155th decimal digit of pi. And if you go even further, folks, the 155 is tied to the 314. You can just keep going. That's how tightly woven this code is. But there it is right there, folks. This was the big standout, is that this element right here called gadolinium, which was used to make television screens, television. It's the 64th element, and how many codons, possible codons we have in our DNA? 64. How many squares in a chessboard? 64. What was the original name of the game? The Checkered Game of Life. The Checkered Game of Life. Folks, do you think when this guy created the game, he was using these layers like this? Do you think he was doing that? Maybe. Possible. I'm not going to rule it out completely. You have to make the truth your own. But clearly, folks, you can't make this stuff up. 64, the ancient I Ching. 64 squares on a chessboard, and we're talking about the Checkered Game of Life, found through the string of pi. Just keeps going, folks. When you do it through the Chaldean, the Checkered Game of Life is the number 93. And of course, when you place that into the string of pi, it ties to the number 21. 21, of course, is tied to Saturn, Father Time, which represents Virgo in the Zodiac, which represents the pineal gland in the chakras, which has two petals, which represent black, and it represents white. And if I scrub the word "the" off of this, get out your calculators, folks. Take 93, subtract 14. You see what you're going to get. I'll let you do that for some fun. Moving along. So here's the guy's name that created originally the Game of Life. It was called the Checkered Game of Life. It's Milton Bradley. He came up with a lot of other games. But the subtleties, besides his name being the freaking 42, which is tied to molybdenum and lead, and, if you haven't watched my Decode on 42, please check it out. Tied to life, the universe, everything, and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's the Game of Life, folks. Do you see the tie-ins to all this? So we have all these multiple moving parts, and then you would want to sit with and pose the question, do you think that all these people are in on it? To pull the woolly over your eyes. Do you think that's possible? And what would be the point, folks? Nonetheless, the subtleties, Milton Bradley, Milton's a 4 in the Chaldean, it's 4 and 2. The capstones of his name in numerology, it's the first letter of each word. It's the 4 and the 2. His total's 42. And then, of course, some more subtleties. Milton's 24, that's a 6. Bradley's an 18, that's a 9. What's 6 and 9? 69, which is the Yin Yang. And you're going to be seeing that quite a bit as I move along through this presentation. When we get into doing Milton Bradley's Alchemology, now if you're new to this, Alchemology is where you take numerology and you blend it in with alchemy. So for instance, Milton is a 4, 1, 3, 4, 7, 5. Then you would take the elements that link to these numbers: beryllium, hydrogen, lithium, beryllium, nitrogen, boron. 4, 1, 3, 4, 7, 5. And you do that with the same thing with his last name. And then you go over to the trusty calculator and you're going to add all these elements up and you're going to get an outcome. And look at what we get for Mr. Milton Bradley, who came up with the Checkered Game of Life. And I've shown Alchemology through so many different presentations, so if you've been paying attention, this should not surprise you, but it should get you excited because you should be doing your name. Find out what your Alchemology is. I hope all of you that are watching this presentation have done that. You can watch my How to Decode Yourself if you have not done that yet. But you can clearly see this guy's life was being used. I mean, 88.119. I mean, what are the big standouts? The 88 and the 119. And of course, the 88 tied to the element yttrium, which is tied to the flux capacitor, tied to the Christ and the crucifixion, which is the letter Y. That's the shape of a snake's tongue that comes out of its mouth is the letter Y. The snake deceived Eve. Folks, the stories are incredible, but when you decode it, you can see that they're all part of the script, all part of the code, and there's no separation. 88 miles an hour. It's the game of life, folks. Time travel. We're all time travelers moving through time. When you go a little bit further and you add up both sides of Milton Bradley's Alchemology, the 88 and 119, you're going to get the number 207, and we go right back to that element right there called lead. And remember what the game of life's all about, folks? It's turning lead into gold. And this freaking guy's Alchemology ends up becoming the 207? What do you think the odds would be if this guy sat down to code his own life? Like, his parents would have to be in on it. Or maybe it's not even a real dude and someone fabricated this guy. And the whole entire gaming system that was created based off Milton Bradley is just designed to pull the woolly over your eyes. Try to screw you over. Try to mess with you. That's what some people think, folks. And I'm going to keep harping on that till people get it. That's not the way this reality works. This entire reality is scripted. There's a blueprint, and mankind does not write the blueprint. They just follow it. And this is absolute ironclad support and convincing evidence. Going further, of course, there's the 42nd card, and it's the 3 spades and the 3 spade. And remember, this is tied to the Truman Show. If you haven't seen my Decode on the Truman Show, one of my most heavily watched videos, it's the Truman Show. 3 spades. And this is the 42nd element, molybdenum. Remember, it means lead. Lead. This means lead. His Alchemology is lead. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Cannot make this stuff up. We go back to the 82, right back again. There's Milton Bradley's Alchemology, 207, leads to lead. Go right back to food for the gods and Ambrosia and what the Greeks coined, what we all are, folks. The checkered game of life, the black and white, the game of life is all about turning lead into gold. It's that transmutation. We're being used and mined for our energetic goal down here on Earth, which is, you can say it's a prison planet. Now, I don't look at it that way anymore. I just have fun with it. But nonetheless, the architect wants to be a comedian and tell you that you're screwed and you're stuck here. That's the way I kind of look at this at this point. I really don't know how else to look at it. So now that we've gotten Milton Bradley out of the way, his starting point of the checkered game of life, this is what it ended up becoming in 1960. So in 1860, Milton Bradley creates the checkered game of life, and then 100 years later, these two gentlemen create the modern version called the game of life. Reuben Klamer and Bill Markham. Their names, when you combine them through the numerology Chaldean cipher, become the number 70. And of course, you bring that into the string of pi. I mean, folks, it gets funny, I think. It gets really funny. It's 96 and 97, 96 being the big standout. What's 96? It's the freaking Yin Yang, which is life. It's duality, folks. We are playing out the checkered game of life, duality. These people were being used to create the game. Now, I want to use that word lightly because it's not like, like you're a slave in that sense. You got to have a light heart with all this stuff when you become conscious of this code. So here's the first guy. Let's break this guy down. Reuben Klamer. His name is also a 42. How about that? A direct match to Milton Bradley. And when you look at, again, here's more pieces that I can tie to the 42. This is the 3 spades turned into the 3 swords. And of course, the game of life. I mean, folks, this is what we experience down here in Wonderland. A hell of a lot of heartbreak and sadness and mourning and having your heart ripped out and stabbed and cheated on and screwed over and betrayal and all that stuff happens down here. And then the 42nd card in the medicine decks, the bat, and of course, What do bats do when they sleep? They hang upside down. We're in the upside down world. The word wonderland equals 42. Reincarnation. And as a matter of fact, when you go to my decode, there it is. This is my 42 decoded. Reincarnations 42. Crucifixions 42. Precipitate, rain, all part of the cycle of life. That's all 42, and it's tied to Wonderland. Wonderland is 42 because when we get down here in Wonderland, we become lead. And it's all about lead to gold. That's what this game of life is. Here's the second guy that was the co-creator of the game of life, Bill Markham. And his life was coded as well. Let's break him down. He was born on January 16th, and obviously that's the golden ratio right there. January 16th can also be written 16/1 or 1/16, but nonetheless, the numbers are there that make up the golden ratio, the golden spiral, and it's all about lead to gold. He was born on January 16th. There's the January 16th birth card of his, which is the Jack in the Box card. We're all Jack, stuck down here in the box, in the cube, playing out the game for the architect. And it uses us to experience its own reality. Of course, it was in 1960. What do you see there? You see, when you see these codes, there's subtleties, but you can clearly see them. 1960, the 196, and that is the weight of gold. The most abundant, the average weight of gold is 196, and there it is. This game was created in 1960. There's the 196. I mean, folks, this guy was coded so heavy, and he was famous for creating this game of life with the other gentleman named Reuben Klamer. So, folks, you can clearly see these guys were not, in control of their life. And this is really the trifecta. This is the loop that I found, which I'm not going to go too heavily into, but this right here is the numbering sequence keeping us stuck in this loop. And I don't know if we could ever get out of it. I think perhaps we may get recycled back in time, and it's all about leveling up and graduating, and you can get into so many different layers. The law of one material, you can get into, reincarnation and leveling up, becoming a better person, checking things off the list. So many different ways you can look at this. I think the Netflix show Dark did a really good job at describing perhaps how this game works. But nonetheless, here it is, 1937-46. This is the Trinity. This is the loop that we're all stuck in, and when you add up 1937 and 46, you get the number 102. Remember, this guy right here had this card for his birth card, and he's stuck in the loop, and he created the game of life. A simple board game, folks, but it's telling us very, very profoundly of how our reality works. We're stuck in this loop, and we're stuck in Pandora's box. So again, 1937-46, when you add those up, getting out your trusty calculator, you get the number 102. That's the mirror of the 201. Some of you want to know what that 201 is. Well, there it is. It's the mirror of that. But here it is. It's Pandora's box. Because you see, rhodium, which I showed this in my Architect of the Universe Part 1. If you haven't seen that decode, please check it out. Rhodium is the box, the cube that we all live in. The numbers 1 through 9, when you add those up, equals the number 45, and that is Saturn's magic square. Saturn is the third eye, giving the golden ratio, the spiral. That's why Saturn has rings around it, because that is the representation of the golden spiral. But nonetheless, there's that 102. And the story of Pandora's box says it all, is that everything was released onto the earth that would cause us all this suffering and distraughtness and all that stuff tied to. And life's beautiful, yet it's very challenging. And there it is. And the rhodium is tied to the RH negative, RH positive in some people's blood. And it's also tied to the Rosicrucians and the Rosy Cross. Many more layers than that. But here is the loop, folks. I've shown this in a few other decodes. This is the anomaly found in pi. There is nothing I have found like it. I've scoured thousands of digits. I have not found anything like this, folks. And you can clearly see the tie-in just to the right-hand side of everything that I've been showing so far. What did I keep saying? What did the Greeks call ambrosia, which was food for the gods? It's 82. It's lead, turning lead into gold. And this is the loop that we're stuck in, the 1937-46. which is found in the string of pi right there. You can pause this and you can observe it for yourself. But when you add up all these digits, 19 plus 20, 37 and 38, 46 and 47, you're going to get 207, which is lead, which is ambrosia, which is mankind is being used for energetic food. And that's exactly what's going on, folks. We are food for the gods. It's right there. We're food for the gods, and we are stuck in this loop. And this guy right here was telling you the game of life that's what it's all about. We are Jack in the box. That's what this Jack means. That's why you'll see a lot of Jacks all over the place. Because we are stuck inside this world and living it out. And, you got to make it for what it is. Heaven or hell, it's going to be both for all of us. But nonetheless, there it is, folks. And let's now get into the other topic called 17. I think this is topic 4. 17 and life. And here's the board game. Game of life. Life is 17. That's a direct match to Yin Yang. I mean, folks, I don't know how much more would you need to see to clearly support the notion in your own logical and common sense brain that mankind is just following a script. And there are foundations. You can become aware of these, which is, what I've done. I've become aware. Some of you have become aware. You can start to pick dates on the calendar that have more power. You can pick certain numbers on the calendar. There's a lot of things you can start doing when you become conscious of this. But there it is. Life is 17, which is the yin yang. That's what we're all living out down here. We're living out duality. It's not something scary or, something evil in that sense. Of course, there is good and evil in everything, and it's the architect, both of those, the personality, the architect. And do we have karma? And I think it really is a moot point, because if we're having to pay up karma in this life, and this life is completely scripted, that means the last life we've had was being completely scripted. So it's just, having to pay up for the last life that was scripted. And it just goes on infinitely. And, karma's a 10. And that's a direct match of the 10th card called the Wheel of Fortune. And you'll notice the very, very strong similarities of the wheel you would spin in the game of life on this board game is very similar to that Wheel of Fortune wheel, which has the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh on there, the ancient Israelite god of the Bible. So is the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh really running this reality? Are we just the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh? Which, in my opinion, is going to be Yaldabaoth and Jesus and Lucifer. All these characters, Brahma and Vishnu and Shiva. It's all the same thing. It's just the different wardrobe of this reality. There could be more than one God out there, perhaps. I think, they all come together and create this reality. But, there is the game of life, and life is 17. And when you synchronize the tarot cards, it's the star card. This is the 17th card in the deck, which is why in the beginning of this Decode, the intro, I had A Star is Born. You know that movie with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga? The star. We're all stars playing out the game of life. And you can be a movie star, rock star, but we're all stars. And this is clearly, you can see the synchronization of this. And when you actually do the numerology of the words, the star, it becomes 24. And remember, it's tied to chromium and tied to prison planet. And of course, the 24th letter is the X. As in the X chromosomes, the X and Y chromosomes, 24 and 25. And there it is. The 24 and 25, the X and Y chromosomes, which is what makes up the male and female species of the Homo sapiens. It's tied right to that number 33. And of course, the big standout's ascension, which is why I have the crosses in the background. The 33 appears, did not only digit 24, folks, but digit 24 and digit 25. And get out your calculators, folks. When you take 24 and you add 25, you're going to get the number 49. And remember the Matrix and Keanu Reeves and Mr. Smith, what their birth cards were? The 4 spades and the 9 diamonds. That's 49. So no matter what, you can be Smith or you can be Neo. You're going to be stuck down here in Wonderland. And the game just goes on and on and on. And it is, the star is 10, man is 10. The word tax is 10. We're all paying our taxes through life itself. And of course, the 10th zodiac sign is Capricorn, the goat, the devil. And yes, folks, it's the devil running man, it's being man. And of course, that's why it's tied. The 10th letter in the Hebrew alphabet is the Yod, which is why it's on that card. So if you think there's any kind of separation between the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh and the devil, you're really kind of confusing the way life really is, because there's no separation. That's why Isaiah 45:7, if you're a fan of theology, clearly tells you that this architect that created this reality, it's both good and evil. And there is no separation. There is no scapegoat. It's both God and the devil. They're one. And that's what we are. We're both of those. So I had shown in the intro the Garden of Eden and kind of the starting point of man. Adam and Eve is 26. Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh is 26. No brainer there. The Game of Life's 59. 59 is the 17th prime number I showed that's tied to the star card. And it's also tied to Jack and Jill. Now remember, Jack and Jill, if you watch my decode on Jack and Jill Decoded, Jill was spelled with a G originally. And the 7 and 10 is Yin Yang. I showed that in my Jack and Jill Decoded. But this 17 is a really interesting number. Remember, it's tied to fish and matrix and life. And through the string of pi, it occupies two digits, 95 and 96. There's that yin yang with the 96. The 95 is one half of the I am. But when you add those two up, it gives you the number 191, which then brings the 1939 movie, The Wizard of Oz, into all this, because then we bring in the Oz, the OZ, which is the element osmium. And, osmium is the 191. And 43, of course, is the spider card. And the spider is the representation of the octopus, which is Yaldabaoth. They're all part of the whole script. And we're in the web. We're in the web in Wonderland. And we're food. Just like a spider spins a web and catches its prey, it's predator-prey down here. And of course, osmium can go off in so many different directions. The OS, operating system, that's the 56, which is tied to Saturn and Jupiter. But nonetheless, folks, keep going with this here. Jack and Jill, duality's 37, sun and moon is 37. That 37, again, tied to the guy who, Bill Markham, who created the Game of Life. He has the Jack Diamonds card. That's sun and moon. I mean, that's our as above. That's the male-female principle, Adam and Eve, sun and moon. That's a no-brainer there. And there are the two cards through the tarot, the sun and the moon. This is card number 19. This is card number 18, giving you the number 37. So you can clearly see it's Jack and Jill. That's us. This is us. Say hi. Playing out this game called life and being used for our energetic frequency. And so it really comes down to this really massive topic called the harvest. It's harvest time. And here in the Tropic of Cancer, we're close to the harvest season. Remember the Jewish New Year starts around September, the fall, the harvest time. And it's a mighty, mighty big year, this Hebrew calendar year, 5,782. It's the 40, it's tied to the Jubilee, the 50, and going into 5783. This is a huge, massive year for all of us, 2021, 2022. And we are going to see some massive changes on the world stage. And here is the breakdown of harvest in the original spelling, because the story of the harvest through theology comes from the Old Testament. Now you're getting into the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. And there is the Hebrew word, reducing it all the way down. There's three ways you can look at the Hebrew gematria, the Hebrew ordinal, and the Hebrew reduction. This is the Hebrew going all the way down to single digits. The 1912 becomes the number 13. Looking just to your right, just remember that 79 occupies digits 13 and 14, but there's the 13. And what's the 79? Folks, it's freaking gold. I mean, you couldn't make this up if you wanted to, because there's so many moving parts. Now, when you do the alchemology of the word harvest, through the original spelling of it in Hebrew, it's hydrogen, fluorine, hydrogen, helium. Going over to the trusty calculator, we get the number 25.017. And here's why alchemology is so freaking powerful. So powerful. Because it hides behind everything. You got to dig. And there's the big truth and the standout. You see, folks, 25. 17 is life, the matrix. Life, 17. It's right there. But you see, 25 is manganese. And this is the symbol or the little photograph that the Royal Society of Chemistry chose to use to represent manganese, which comes from the word magnet. Now, I want you to use your common sense and logic. How would you pull something off the ground if it was made of metal and you had an object called a magnet in your hand? What would it do? It would attract that piece of metal. And remember, folks, we have iron in our blood, we have metals in our blood. And of course, everything that's going on today with everything else, more and more metals are being accumulated in our bodies through the things they're spraying. And so, folks, it goes very, very deep and it gets really serious. But this icon says it all, which is why I have the cows in the back. See, folks, we are, no matter which way you slice it or dice it, we are just cattle. We are food for the gods. That's why people eat cows. As above, so below. Humans eat cows. What's eating us? We don't have to be physically killed to be consumed. But of course, when the harvest happens and physicality will be eliminated, that's the gold currency being released in this piece that I'm showing all of. This is serious stuff here. The 25 and 17. It's the electromagnetic and the cow. And, I just want to show that to you. When you go to the 25, here it is. The reason why they say this, it goes right here. See, they tell you this. The image is of an antique electromagnet and a cow. The electromagnet is because manganese may have gotten its name from the Latin word for magnet. The cow reflects the importance of the element as a food supplement for grazing animals. Now, that may be the reason why they chose to put that in there, but I can promise you, this is where the truth is behind the curtain that they're not going to show you. And man's being used. And the architect is telling you, it's telling all of us, this is what harvest means. We're being used for energetic food, folks. And it's all tied to gold. And remember what the sun is. The sun is gold. Here's another example of the word harvest and that 25 and 17. Look at the two words that represent that 25 and 17. And maybe your jaw's on the floor right now. Some of you should have the jaws on the floor with what I just showed you. This is serious stuff. But again, it's laughable and life's a joke. So as serious as it is, the contradiction is, life's a freaking joke. It's a joke. It's all theater. And there it is. It's, the demon and the angel. And that's what represents our duality. And that's what we all are. We play into the wolf. The wolf is the black wolf and the white wolf. Yin Yang, black and white, Jack Jill, demon angel. It's all of that, folks. All of it is tied to that. And it's tied to the harvest. So you can use your common sense and logic with this, folks. This is ironclad to support what I've been showing over and over. And it comes to this screen right here. And I want you to really let me narrate this for you to show you how scripted our reality is and how powerful all these layers are when you tie them all together. Starting in the bottom left-hand corner where I have the word start twice is the element gold. And gold goes up to the string of pi, and I've shown this throughout this Decode 79, which is gold's protons, appears at the 13th and 14th decimal digits. 13 and 14 is 27. And then you go up to the word currency. So we know gold is currency. And that's what we're being mined for, our gold currency. And then when you go up to the next layer, which is aluminum, which is 13. Just remember 26, which is aluminum's atomic weight. 26 is tied to the word God in the English ordinal. And then when you keep going up through the top there, that 26 is tied to the word harvest. So we know the harvest is based on gold currency, and we are gold currency through our emotions. And right above harvest is the original spelling of the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, 26, which of course is the element iron, and our blood has iron in it. Going from the harvest to the right, we go to the word harvest in Hebrew, and that equals the number 67. It's a mighty big one, tied to Chromium and ho, 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 and Santa Claus. But nonetheless, 67 is a very big number because it's the freaking 19th prime number, and the 19th card in the deck of the tarot is the sun. And as I've said, the sun is gold. That's our boss. And we feed it. It gives us life, but it also takes life from us. When you go up here and you look at the number 67 through the string of pi, it occupies 2 digits, the 98th and 99th decimal digits. 98 and 99 is the number 197, and that's once again tied to that 79 and gold. I mean, folks, can you see the pattern in this? That's undeniable. And that's how, using all these multiple layers, man could never code this at this level. We can decode it, which is what we're doing. But to purposely sit down and code that, I mean, too many moving parts. I mean, once you add on another numerology layer, it just makes it that much more challenging. Because then you have more options, and then it extends on this code. So gold in Latin, which is why it has this AU, is called aurum, which of course, what do we all have? We all have auras. That's why we're tied to the sun. That's our boss. Well, aurum is 19. And you go right back to this card, which is the 19th card called the sun. So as you can see, folks, the harvest is tied to mankind. It's tied to angels and demons, which is what we all are. It's tied to being cattle, being mankind. That's really what it comes down to. So let's get into our last topic. Oh, this one's going to be fun. If you're not having fun yet, but here's the last topic, the number 88. And it just really, to go right in your face and show you, here's the 88, here's the 4-leaf clover. This is a graphic I've been using quite a bit in my Architect of the Universe decodes. Folks, this is the 88, and this is the infinity symbol behind the hourglass. But these two shapes, here's one 8 right there, here's another 8 right there. And this is the past, present, and future, constantly moving over and over and over. And as this moves, the sands drip down into this area right here and collects. And this is the Taurus fields. This is pure physics now. Using, simple pieces of our reality. The hourglass is 33, which is tied to ascension, and that's the reason why the Christ was crucified at 33. And it goes way deeper than these basic fundamentals that we've been given. But the 33 becomes the number 8. This is the number 8 right here, the infinity symbol. And this is it. This is the wolf right here, folks. This is the 88. And that's why 4-leaf clovers are considered lucky, because this is a 4-leaf clover. And that's the wolf. And you can put your face in there, because that's exactly what all of us should be doing. Because you see, you are the architect. All of us And the only thing that matters is your life. Even if you have a partner or kids, I understand, I don't belittle their lives. But at the end of the day, it is you that is having your experience. And they're having theirs. And you are the wolf. And you are feeding the wolf. You are feeding yourself. You can put your face right there. And you see, you can place one of these infinity symbols right over your head, right over your face, and you're going to get the past, present, and future. And the now moment is right here in the dead center, which is where our third eye would go. And that's the wolf. And the wolf is the Taurus fields. And the wolf is the game of life, which is the hourglass, the sands of time. And we only have so much time. And here is a huge, huge, huge piece of more of the upcoming decodes I have coming out based on bringing now astrology and astronomy into this and the Vedic system. And here's a big takeaway, folks, because I feel that, the cosmos, the planets, are the chakras of the cosmos itself. That's our as above. And we are the microcosm of, and we have the chakras inside our body. So in essence, we have the planets inside of us. And it's the chakras that represent those planets. And we're told that, Jupiter is planet number 5 from the sun. Doesn't matter where the sun's at per se, but Jupiter's the 5, Saturn's the 6. And this is completely in line with my research at this current time. And, remember, if you watched my decode on Jacob's Ladder and my other latest ones, I mentioned that Saturn is the ruler of the pineal gland. And Saturn has the rings because he represents the golden spiral. And that spiral is the rings around Saturn. And that's why Saturn is known as Satan. And that's why Satan is 666. And that's why it's the number 6 chakra, which is the pineal gland, which is love and fear. It's both of those. And then, of course, the son of Saturn, Jesus, Jupiter, is the 5, which represents the throat chakra. So you have the wolf, the 88, but when you really break it down, you have Saturn running the third eye and Jupiter running the throat or the mouth where we speak. And then you have your little devils here, which can be really casting illusions. But it's this 5 and 6. Remember, operating system equals 56. It's right there. And when you do the so below of you being the wolf in your avatar, you use these as your 5 senses. But when you close your eyes and go within, this is what counts. The third eye. And then you get into theology and let thy eye be single. That's what this means. Let thy eye be single is this. And you will manifest primarily through speaking your spells, which is Jupiter, the biggest planet on the world stage, which has the great red spot, which is probably the all-seeing eye inside of our brains running us. And remember, Jesus said, you don't get to the Father except through me. Yeah, you got to speak your way. And this is the Father-Son combination. The 6-5, 5-6, 65 is the element zinc, which has got the atomic weight of 30. A 65, zinc is 30, and it has an atomic weight of 65. It's tied to Angel Falls. There's so many combinations with this, and that's why I'm taking some time to narrate this for all of you. If you can get this concept, you'll have many more keys to your kingdom. You'll have many more keys to your kingdom. So moving along, folks, you see that wolf is the number 88. And remember, it's the 2 Taurus fields, one running horizontally, one running vertically. And when you bring in the string of pi, it tells you the true narrative, because 88 occupies digit 34 and 35. Get out your calculators. 34 and 35 is 69, which is the wolf. Taurus fields. It's this. It's right there. And 69 will fit. The 9 will be right here, and then the 6 will be right there. You can't miss this once you start to see it. It's right there staring at us. So, I wanted to discover where's the 88 in the string of pi. So, you go to the Sabidium.com, you type in the number 88, and there it is. It occupies digits 34 and 35, which is 69. And then when you go 69 digits past the 3 point, there's the 88. And you add up all those digits, you get the number 173. Well, 173 is not just any roundabout number. It's a frickin' prime number. And it's not just any prime number, folks. It's the 40th prime number. And 40, when we bridge and bring in the element on the periodic table tied to that, it is tied to calcium, which is lead, which is wonderland, but it's also tied to zirconium. And zirconium's average atomic weight is 91. 91 is linked to the word battery. The most abundant weight of zirconium is 89. The most abundant now is 89, and 89 is Yaldabaoth, which is what I feel runs the entire world. That's what we're really feeding, and everything's all subordinate to that. But nonetheless, the element on the periodic table, zirconium, which means gold-colored, just remember that. It means, matter of fact, let me take you to that. Remember, we're turning lead into gold. Here it is. And what does it say? The name comes from the Arabic word zargan, which means gold-colored. And we are turning lead into gold with this 88 as we feed the wolf. And there it is. And 40 is such a big number because it's tied to death and regeneration. That's what this is. This Yin Yang is death and regeneration. This world continues on through death and regeneration. And of course, we can bring Shiva into that. Shiva is the combination of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, all three, playing its role out down here, and why it's such a powerful deity, because Shiva's 16, Sirius is 16. 16 appears at the 40th decimal digit, once again tied to zirconium. There is Yaldabaoth showing up in the zirconium, the most abundant weight of zirconium. The most powerful weight of zirconium is 89. 89 reduces to the 17. That's life. But 89 is the ruler of the 17. And it's all about death and regeneration. What do you think Shiva's all about? Brings death and regeneration to this world. 16's the golden ratio, 1.6, which goes right back to Saturn being the 6th chakra. So to get to this tail end of this long decode, thanks for sticking with me. There was a band that came out called Motorhead. They were made famous by their song called Ace of Spades. The reason why I'm showing that is because you see, the 88 found through the string of pi is right there, 34 and 35, but the total digits added up using that measurement is 173, which is the 40th prime number. Well, the 40th card in the deck is the infamous Ace of Spades. And the Ace of Spades is the card of death and regeneration. It is the card of the 88. That should tell you how powerful it is. Those of you that have the Ace Spades as your birth card, you people are some seriously powerful people. You got to start owning this space, finding more out about this Ace Spades card and, why it's tied to death and regeneration. And, this Ace of Spades, when you do the numerology of it, it's a 48. And 48 through the string of pi, look at what digits it occupies. 87 and 88. You see why man could never code this. It was so many layers. It's all mathematically precise, created by whatever created this reality. And the 48, folks, I just want to show you how powerful that is. Keep your eye on that Chaldean. This is what they call Jupiter's eye. It's 48, you see? So, right there. Death and regeneration. And you go right back up to Jupiter. And the Word was God and God was the Word. This is the Word. You see, you speak what you see. And we're all using, that's why the pineal gland is, the pine cones in Vatican, they know how powerful it is. It's the crown jewel of the brain. And there's only so much time we have, and then the game will end, and then this hourglass will get flipped over, and the game will restart again. And I have a feeling that the Zodiac wheel surrounds this, and as the age moves, they end up becoming at this 12 o'clock position to feed the 6 o'clock position. And remember, the days of creation 1 through 6. So it all just synchronizes and harmonizes. It's all beautifully, mathematically precise, and man didn't code this. We're all just living out the blueprint. And to end this grand decode of the game of life, folks, I hope you picked up some nuggets on this one. The Ace of Spades, just to show you that Motorhead was being used. These three guys, this band, they wrote this song because they were supposed to. They were being used to write it. And our minds are not our own. So the Ace of Spades tells you the truth through the length of the song, 2 minutes and 46 seconds. And I mean, it just gets funny that it's the element curium, and curium's protons is the yin yang. It's death and regeneration. It's the wolf. The 96 is the 88. The 88 is the 96. And last but not least, the reason why I'm showing you the 166 is because that's the length of the song when you break it down in minutes. You see, seconds. 2 minutes is 120 seconds, and 120 seconds added with the 46 seconds gives you 166. And 166 is tied to that word right there, the Tetragrammaton. So now you know, folks. You see, it's all tied together. There's no separation. Tetragrammaton, Yaldabaoth, Jesus, Lucifer, Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, Allah. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But nonetheless, they all go back to the same origins, and we're all just the architect playing out our roles here during this game of life and the blueprint. We're all stuck down here in the Matrix. We're all here in Wonderland, and we're all playing out Mr. Smith and Neo. And you're going to play out asleep and awake. And it just continues on and on and on. Same with Groundhog Day. He's sleeping, he wakes up. Go look at that Groundhog Day movie again and look at what time he wakes up. 5:59 and then 6 a.m. 59 and 60. 59 is asleep, 60 is awake. There it is, folks. That's what I have for all of you. So what did you see during this presentation? I'd love to hear what you saw with your observations. We're getting closer. Folks, I think for me personally, this is the closest I have come to figuring it all out. And life is just, life's a big joke to me. You got to laugh at it because it's just funny. It's a stand-up comedian. It's everything. It's nasty. It's gnarly. It's disgusting. But it's beautiful. It's marvelous. It's precise. And it's funny. And all these stories, there to keep you busy. They're there to keep you busy. So anyway, folks, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality, and I thank each and every one of you for your Patreons, your donations. Those of you that want to get a reading, just send me an email, decodeyourreality@gmail.com, and I will send you a reply back. Folks, until next time, we will see you later.